Why only the chosen women have these 7 hidden marks? The wound is the place where the light enters you. Rumi. Have you ever wondered why certain women carry an invisible strength that sets them apart? Why some seem to endure the darkest storms only to rise with even more grace, wisdom, and power? In today's video on spiritual wisdom, we'll uncover the 7 hidden marks that only chosen women possess, sacred signs that speak of deep purpose, divine selection, and inner transformation. These aren't just traits. They are spiritual imprints shaped by trials, destined for impact. As you listen, reflect on your own journey. Do you recognize any of these marks within yourself or someone you love? If so, leave a comment and share your story below. Your voice might inspire another chosen soul. Let's dive in and let the wisdom begin. 1. Scar that turned into a sword. Chosen women have walked through fires that would have destroyed others. But instead of being consumed, they emerged transformed, carrying not just pain, but power. Their suffering wasn't just an experience, it was an initiation. A sacred trial allowed by the divine not to punish them, but to prepare them. The first hidden mark of a chosen woman is this: the scar that turned into a sword. Scars tell stories, not of defeat, but of survival, of the quiet strength it takes to bleed and still believe. A chosen woman's scar is not a symbol of what broke her, but of what built her. Each wound she carries has been refined by grace, made holy through her perseverance. She did not ask for the battle, but she chose to rise from it. This is what makes her different. While others collapse under pressure, she becomes sharper, clearer, stronger. The same pain that tried to bury her is what forged her into someone the world can no longer ignore. These are not just emotional bruises. They are spiritual signatures, heaven's fingerprint on her life. Like Hannah, she has known what it means to cry in silence, to feel forgotten, to pray when no one listens. And yet, her tears planted something sacred. Hannah's sorrow birthed Samuel, a prophet of nations. Her agony wasn't wasted, it was weaponized. The same is true for the chosen woman. The heartbreak that was meant to harden her heart instead broke it open, allowing divine love to pour in. What was once a wound has now become her worship. Or like Joseph, sold by his brothers, abandoned in a pit, left behind in prison. And yet, none of it could derail what God had declared over his life. Joseph's suffering wasn't a detour, it was a divine setup. His pain didn't stop his purpose, it revealed it. In the same way, the chosen woman carries this mark: pain that became prophecy, rejection that became redirection, the affliction that became her anointing. There is something holy about the woman who suffers silently but still loves loudly, the one who serves even when she's empty, who gives even when no one gives back, who worships while wounded. She knows what it means to feel invisible and still be invaluable. Her scar became a sword the moment she stopped asking, "Why me?" and started declaring, "Use me." This mark cannot be faked. It is not surface-level strength or a mask of resilience. It is soul-deep refinement. You know her by her eyes tired, yet fearless. Her silence still, yet powerful. Her presence gentle, yet immovable. She doesn't need applause. She has alignment. She doesn't seek validation. She embodies revelation. Because she knows, what hurt her didn't hinder her. It handed her the sword. And if you have ever walked through suffering that no one saw, if you have ever worshipped with tears running down your face, if you have forgiven someone who never said sorry, if you have kept believing when every sign said, "Give up," then you carry this mark too. Heaven chose you not in spite of your wounds, but because of what your wounds revealed. That you could carry pain without becoming bitter. That you could hold grief without losing hope. That you could be cut and still choose to heal others. You were not broken, you were becoming. You were not cursed, you were being carved into someone unstoppable. That is why your scar is sacred. That is why your scar became a sword. If this message speaks to your soul, repeat after me. My scars are sacred. My pain has shaped my power. I am chosen for something greater. 2. Divine discontent. They feel a deep, unshakable restlessness, even when life appears good on the outside. It's not about being ungrateful or chasing more. It's a sacred discontent, a divine agitation placed by heaven itself. This stirring is not a flaw. It is an inner compass guiding chosen women toward their greater assignment. Even in comfort, their spirit is unsettled because their soul recognizes that the current situation is too small for what they're meant to carry. It's not that life is wrong, it's just that it's not yet fully right. There's more purpose, more calling, more alignment. And that divine discomfort is what pulls them forward. Like Queen Esther in the palace, these women are often placed in environments that look ideal from the outside, but feel spiritually mismatched within. Esther wasn't just lucky. She was strategically positioned for a divine mission. Her discomfort wasn't a sign of weakness, it was a sign of timing. Heaven stirred her heart so she wouldn't stay silent. In the same way, many chosen women today feel this divine agitation not because they are doing something wrong, but because they are being prepared for something greater. It's a holy preparation disguised as emotional tension. This feeling can show up at unexpected times in a stable career that feels meaningless, in a relationship that lacks depth, or in a lifestyle that others envy, but your soul resists. It's not always dramatic. Sometimes it's quiet, a whisper in the heart, a thought you can't shake, a sense that you are outgrowing the space you're in. That's not ego. That's the echo of your destiny calling. It is a sacred invitation to stretch beyond comfort zones and embrace your divine assignment. Take the story of a young woman named Ava. She had everything society told her she needed: an admirable career in social work, a loving family, and a supportive partner. But each day, something inside her grew louder. She couldn't name it at first. It wasn't depression or burnout. It was a call to do something that aligned more deeply with her soul's truth. Eventually, that sacred restlessness pushed her to start a healing circle for women recovering from trauma, a space that didn't exist before she created it. That discomfort didn't destroy her. It revealed her, and in doing so, it helped heal others. Feeling out of place isn't proof that you're lost. It's a clue that you're being called. The more a chosen woman tries to suppress that restlessness, the louder it becomes. It shows up in her body, her emotions, her dreams, and the moment she dares to listen, she begins to shift. Not because life outside has changed, but because she has started to align with the truth of who she really is. Divine discontent is one of the most powerful signs of spiritual selection. It's not meant to torment, it's meant to awaken. Heaven does not whisper into the ears of the distracted. It speaks through the aching silence of those who are ready to rise. So if you feel out of place, misunderstood, or misaligned, it is not a curse. It's a summons. You are being prepared, positioned, and pushed. Not because you're not enough, but because you are more than what the world sees. Comment, "I feel the call," if this message resonates with your soul. Or, "Still searching," if you're on the journey, but not sure yet. Let's talk about it below. 3. Sensitivity to injustice and pain. Chosen women carry a profound sensitivity to pain and injustice, not as a flaw, but as a divine assignment etched into their soul. They don't just notice suffering, they feel it, absorb it, and carry it in their spirit as if it were their own. Their tears come quickly, not because they are fragile, but because their emotional system is wired by heaven to respond to the cries of others. This spiritual empathy is not something learned. It is embedded in them as a divine responsibility. While the world may label it as oversensitivity, in the unseen realm, it is regarded as sacred intelligence, an ability to sense what is broken beneath the surface and release healing through heartfelt intercession. Their tears are not ordinary. Like sacred prayers, they rise as a fragrance to the heavens. Just as Jesus wept over a world that could not see the truth, these women are called to weep over wounds that others overlook. Their crying is not weakness, it is prophecy. It is spiritual warfare fought in silence. They walk among us like emotional midwives, quietly birthing healing, transformation, and peace. Where others see emotion as a liability, heaven sees it as activation. When they feel pain, they don't just react, they shift the atmosphere. When they sense injustice, their soul intercedes even before words are spoken. They are entrusted to carry other people's burdens in a world that often teaches us to carry nothing but our own ambition. This burden is heavy. It often isolates them. Because their energy draws the brokenhearted, the emotionally wounded, and the spiritually lost, they are rarely surrounded by lightness. But this is part of the calling. Their presence is a sanctuary, and people are drawn to their warmth without understanding the weight they carry. Their emotional depth becomes a magnet for divine assignments. Strangers feel safe enough to confess. Friends lean on them for strength, and even those in darkness seek their light. This attraction is not random. It is spiritual law in motion. According to the law of attraction, what you embody is what you draw. Chosen women carry healing energy, so they naturally draw those who need it most. And yet, most of the work they do remains unseen. They are not celebrated for their quiet prayers. They are not rewarded for the nights they spent crying for someone else's pain. But heaven sees. Heaven hears. These women are known in the spirit realm as intercessors, soul warriors, sacred vessels through which divine compassion flows. Their spiritual awakening was not for self-enlightenment alone. It was to become a bridge between pain and purpose, between heartbreak and healing. When others give up on someone, they still feel the urge to pray. When the world turns away, they lean in. When no one is watching, they still whisper prayers that move mountains. The emotional depth that once felt like a curse is actually a manifestation of spiritual maturity. It is a gift wrapped in discomfort, a divine signal that their soul is attuned to higher frequencies of compassion. These women have been through enough to recognize that pain is a portal. And instead of running from it, they walk straight into it, not to suffer, but to rescue. They do not need attention. They need alignment. They do not seek recognition. They seek restoration for themselves and for those who cannot find their way home. Their power lies in the quiet moments, in the whispered prayers, in the tears that fall unnoticed. But in the spiritual world, nothing they release is wasted. Every tear waters the soil of someone else's healing. This is not just emotion. This is energy. This is divine technology operating through a human heart. And in a world that numbs feeling in order to function, their sensitivity is not just a gift, it is a revolutionary act of spiritual defiance. They are here to heal through empathy, to restore through softness, and to awaken through love. Don't forget to subscribe for more wisdom on how spiritual sensitivity is not a weakness, but a divine gift. If you've ever wept for others without knowing why, or carried invisible burdens with grace, this space is for you. Join us on the journey of sacred empathy and silent intercession. 4. Attracts unprovoked attacks. She attracts unprovoked attacks, not because of any wrongdoing, but because of the light she carries. A light so powerful, so pure, it threatens the very foundations of darkness. There's something sacred about her presence, something ancient that echoes through her aura. Without saying a word, she unsettles rooms. Without fighting, she provokes resistance. That is the nature of spiritual warfare, subtle yet intense. It surrounds the chosen, not the passive. The more divine energy she radiates, the more the forces of spiritual opposition rise against her. She may not wear a title, but heaven knows her name, and so does the enemy. This woman's life is a battlefield not because she is weak, but because she is spiritually dangerous. Her obedience disturbs patterns. Her intuition disrupts illusions. Her light exposes what others try to keep hidden. Like Mary, the mother of Christ, she is not exalted by worldly status, but by divine alignment. Mary said yes to God and immediately became a target. She was judged, rejected, pursued. Her path was holy, but costly. Likewise, the chosen woman today may find herself misunderstood, falsely accused, or isolated not because of failure, but because her yes to the divine mission placed her under a spiritual spotlight. Darkness does not waste its time attacking what poses no threat. It only targets those who carry power. Her presence is disruptive to the status quo of spiritual stagnation. She may face betrayals, heartbreak, or energetic exhaustion, not because she is cursed, but because she is confirmed. The enemy recognizes the seed she carries. The frequency of her soul vibrates at a level that makes demonic interference inevitable. She's not just surviving battles, she is activating divine assignments through them. Many women assume that frequent attacks mean they are doing something wrong. But in the spiritual realm, attacks are often a sign that she is finally walking in alignment. They are spiritual feedback that she's tapping into sacred power, stepping into a higher version of herself. She is being pruned, not punished. As the scripture says, every fruitful branch is pruned, so it may bear more fruit. Pruning hurts. It looks like loss. It feels like confusion, but it's sacred preparation. Her life is not falling apart. It's being rearranged for divine purpose. There are times she wonders, why me? But she must learn to ask, what am I carrying that's worth attacking? Because only those with purpose become targets. The warfare is a mirror of her potential. The more intense the attack, the more evident the anointing. Her life may seem like a series of spiritual ambushes, but in truth, each one is a divine confirmation of the holy energy within her. The hidden mark here is not the pain itself, but her ability to continue radiating light despite it. She still loves, even after betrayal. She still prays, even after silence. She still stands, even after the storm. That's not just resilience, it's divine evidence. Her scars are not shameful. They are sacred. They speak of battles fought in silence and victories won in the spirit. This is why she attracts unprovoked attacks, not because she is flawed, but because she is chosen. If this message has stirred your spirit, declare your faith in the comments. I carry light that darkness cannot extinguish. I am chosen and protected by God. Don't forget to like this video, subscribe to Spiritual Wisdom, and turn on the notification bell so you won't miss what heaven is revealing next. 5. Misunderstood and isolated. They are often alone, not because they choose isolation, but because isolation chooses them. A chosen woman is not always understood by the world around her. Her quietness is mistaken for arrogance. Her strength is misread as stubbornness. Her ability to stand firm in her values is labeled as pride. But the truth is far more profound. What the world misinterprets is actually the evidence of divine preparation. When God sets someone apart, He doesn't always surround them with applause. More often, He surrounds them with silence. Because in silence, she grows. In solitude, she transforms. Chosen women walk a road that others often can't comprehend. This road isn't glamorous. It's hidden, rugged, and sacred. It's where God speaks in whispers only a refined soul can hear. Like Jesus in the wilderness, like Moses tending sheep in obscurity, like Hagar crying in the desert, chosen women are drawn into sacred aloneness, not because they are unloved, but because they are deeply loved by heaven. The silence is not a punishment. It's a sanctuary. It is here, in the absence of noise and distraction, that she is trained in discernment, purified in intention, and strengthened in spirit. The world overlooks her, but heaven never does. In the modern world, this mark often plays out through women who don't conform. She might be the one who keeps her circle small. She chooses depth over popularity. She doesn't chase validation because she's anchored in something eternal. Others may whisper behind her back, claiming she's distant or cold. But what they fail to see is the fire she carries inside the sacred energy that's too precious to waste on surface-level approval. She is not here to entertain or explain. She is here to evolve. Even in family settings, she may feel like the black sheep, the one who thinks differently, the one who challenges the dysfunction that others accept. And because of this, she's often excluded. But being misunderstood is the price of being marked. Her boundaries are not walls, they are filters. Her silence is not empty. It is full of divine conversation. She walks through seasons where she receives no affirmation, no recognition, and yet continues to show up. This is the making of someone who has been chosen not for comfort, but for calling. This mark of isolation is never about abandonment. It is about alignment. It is heaven's way of clearing the noise so the chosen one can hear the whisper of purpose. When the world pushes her aside, it is only because God is pulling her closer. In the quiet, she learns to distinguish between distractions and destiny. In the loneliness, she finds intimacy with her Creator. And in the rejection, she discovers radical self-worth that doesn't require outside approval. Eventually, what was hidden becomes undeniable. What was rejected becomes revered. And the woman who was once isolated is now illuminated. But she never forgets what shaped her. Her power is not in her appearance, or in titles, or recognition. Her power is in her presence, in the way she walks with God, even when no one is watching. That is why she is misunderstood, because she is spiritually rare. That is why she is isolated, because heaven is doing something in her that the world is not ready to see. And that is why she rises, again and again, not with noise, but with quiet, unstoppable grace. If this message speaks to your heart, drop a comment below. Isolation is preparation. Your words help us reach more souls on the same journey. 6. Growth in the dark. She doesn't bloom in sunlight first. She blooms in the dark. Her roots are not nourished by applause, but by pressure, silence, and solitude. When a woman is chosen, her growth begins where no eye can see and no hand can interfere beneath the surface, in sacred stillness. She learns to stretch downward before she ever reaches upward. And the deeper the root, the stronger the rise. You may not know it yet, but this hidden season is divine. The discomfort, the delay, the detours, they're not signs of denial. They're confirmations of destiny. Like a seed pushed deep into the soil, you are not being buried to die. You are being planted to rise. The darkness is not a punishment. It is the preparation. It is where heaven does its most intimate work out of view, out of reach, but never out of purpose. Consider Ruth, who remained faithful in the shadows of grief and poverty. Her loyalty in obscurity prepared her for legacy. Joseph was cast into a pit, stripped of his status, forgotten in prison, and yet it was in that dungeon that his dreams matured. And Moses, hidden in a basket, raised in a palace, exiled to a desert, his leadership was forged in the loneliness of wilderness. None of them were revealed before they were refined. This is how God works with chosen souls. He hides them so he can shape them. Because a public platform cannot hold what hasn't first been privately rooted. If he exposed your gift before you had the spiritual structure to hold it, it would crush you. But in the dark, where no one sees you, he builds your resilience, your discernment, your obedience. What feels like delay is actually the construction of your spiritual infrastructure. And isn't it true? The soil is never glamorous. It's messy, dark, and full of resistance. But the soil is where transformation begins. The caterpillar doesn't become a butterfly on a stage. It dissolves inside a cocoon, hidden, motionless, forgotten by the world. And when it emerges, it no longer crawls. It flies. You are in your cocoon. You are in your soil. And though your hands feel empty, your spirit is being filled. What you think is a setback is a sacred stretch. You are not behind, you are becoming. True growth doesn't need a spotlight. It needs surrender. It needs depth. It needs the willingness to remain planted even when there is no evidence of progress. Because chosen women are not built to bloom fast. They are built to last. They are not grown in popularity, but in presence. And when they finally emerge, the world will not be ready, but heaven will have already approved. So if you feel unseen, remember this. Visibility is not the same as value. The world may not recognize the work God is doing in you, but the heavens do. Stay buried. Stay faithful. Stay rooted. Because growth in the dark is not weakness. It's the ultimate mark of the chosen. To affirm your growth, even when no one is watching, declare your commitment. Comment below, "I'm growing in the dark," to honor your hidden season and encourage others who are quietly becoming stronger too. 7. Unshakable joy in dry places. Despite the storms, the chosen woman radiates a joy that cannot be stolen. It's not a joy based on emotion or fleeting circumstance. It is a sacred stance of defiance, a weapon forged in the fires of her spiritual battles. Her joy is spiritual warfare. When life tries to break her, when grief or betrayal tighten around her like chains, she still finds a way to laugh, not from delusion, but from divine alignment. Like the Proverbs 31 woman, she laughs without fear of the future, not because the future is predictable, but because she knows who walks before her. Her smile in chaos is not weakness. It's evidence of unseen strength, a declaration that despair will not have the final word. This kind of joy doesn't come from surface-level positivity. It is deep, refined, and intentional. It is the fruit of many silent seasons where she learned to find beauty in ashes, grace in loss, and light in the middle of her darkest nights. Her joy is not a mask, it is mastery. She has mastered how to sit in sorrow without drowning in it. She has discovered that joy is not the opposite of pain, it's the power to rise above it. And so, when the enemy comes to steal her peace, he finds a woman too rooted in purpose to be shaken. Joy, for the chosen woman, is rebellion. It is holy resistance against every voice that told her she was too broken, too late, or too far gone. She chooses to celebrate in advance, even when nothing around her looks worth celebrating. Because her joy is prophetic, it speaks of a future not yet seen, but deeply believed. She understands that her vibration is her message, and every time she chooses to smile, to speak life, to dance while bleeding, she is declaring that heaven still holds her story. What others call delusion, she calls faith. What others call naive, she calls revelation. She is not pretending life is easy. She simply refuses to let difficulty define her. She knows that joy in dry places is proof of favor, not foolishness. Where others see barrenness, she sees preparation. Where others mourn what's missing, she rejoices in what's coming. Her heart carries a rhythm that the world cannot tune into because it plays a heavenly song, a frequency of hope, praise, and endurance that only the chosen understand. Her joy is her protest. Her peace is her weapon. And her laughter, that's her war cry. It tells the darkness, you did not win. It tells her past, you no longer define me. And it tells her future, I'm coming for you with light in my eyes and praise on my tongue. This woman doesn't just survive storms, she dances in the rain. Not because the rain is pleasant, but because she knows it is watering something sacred within her. Something the world cannot steal. Something the enemy cannot touch. Something called unshakable joy. And remember, these 7 hidden marks are not signs of weakness. They are sacred symbols of divine purpose, resilience, and inner strength. If you've seen yourself reflected in these truths, it's not by accident. You were meant to hear this message. If this video touched your soul or gave you clarity, please take a moment to like, share it with someone who needs to hear it, and subscribe to Spiritual Wisdom. And don't forget to turn on the notification bell so you never miss the next revelation on your journey of awakening. Until next time, stay grounded, stay empowered, and never forget you are chosen for a reason. Carl Jung. Why you'll never be free until you know this. Until you make the unconscious conscious, it will direct your life and you will call it fate. Carl Jung. Welcome to Spiritual Wisdom, where we explore the timeless truths that awaken your soul. In today's video, we dive deep into one of Carl Jung's most powerful insights, a truth that has the power to liberate your mind and reshape your reality. If you've ever felt stuck in patterns you can't explain, this message is for you. True freedom begins with self-awareness. So as you watch, reflect on how these ideas show up in your life. Are you ready to break free from the invisible forces that hold you back? Comment below with, I'm ready to see clearly, if this resonates, and share your thoughts. We'd love to hear your perspective. Let's grow together. 1. The shadow. Your repressed self controls you. The shadow is not evil. It's simply the part of you that has been buried alive. It holds the rage you were never allowed to express, the shame you pretend doesn't exist, and the fear you've spent years avoiding. These are not just emotions. They are living energies pushed out of sight because they didn't fit the version of yourself you believed would be accepted. But spiritual wisdom reminds us that what we suppress doesn't disappear. It mutates. It becomes anxiety, self-sabotage, addictions, broken relationships, and that persistent feeling that something invisible is holding you back. The shadow doesn't scream. It whispers. It speaks through the way you push people away, the opportunities you never let yourself reach for, the inner walls you build when life gets too close. It molds your responses to love and loss, to success and disappointment, often without you realizing it. And the more you run from it, the more control it gains. Even when you chase positivity, recite affirmations, or embrace spirituality, if your shadow remains unexamined, you are only painting over cracks in your foundation. The goal of spiritual wisdom is not to become light without darkness, but to become whole. Wholeness means holding both the pain and the power, the grief and the grace. Your anger may be a torch showing where your boundaries were violated. Your jealousy might not be a weakness. It could be a roadmap to your soul's hidden desires. Your fear may be the guardian of your most wounded self, a part that is still waiting to be acknowledged and healed. Integration means listening to these signals, not silencing them. It means feeling without judgment and facing yourself without flinching. Think of the man who destroys every good relationship he finds. Outwardly, he's stable, responsible, even kind. But when someone gets too close, he creates distance, starts fights, or finds reasons to withdraw. It's not fate, it's his shadow. Maybe he was abandoned as a child and learned that love equals loss. Maybe vulnerability makes him feel exposed and unsafe. Until he meets these wounds with honesty, he will continue to unconsciously sabotage his chances at intimacy while convincing himself he's just unlucky in love. This is not just a psychological insight, it is a spiritual revelation. Because true spiritual awakening does not come from escaping into light, but from walking courageously into your own darkness and reclaiming what's been left behind. To face your shadow is to take back the reins of your life. It means you no longer let unconscious wounds drive your choices or repeat the same loops disguised as just the way I am. It doesn't mean those feelings vanish. It means they stop owning you. You can feel anger and still act with clarity. You can acknowledge envy and still choose love. You can hear shame's voice without handing it the microphone. This is the real freedom, when no emotion defines you and no fear dictates your future. That is the essence of spiritual wisdom, the sacred invitation to love every part of yourself so deeply that nothing within you is lost and nothing outside you has the power to define who you are. Are you ready to face your shadow and reclaim your power? If so, comment below. I will face myself to show your commitment to inner truth and transformation. 2. Your identity is not entirely yours. Most people believe they are in control of their lives, that their decisions, desires, and behaviors come from conscious choice. But Carl Jung shattered that illusion when he revealed that much of what we do is governed not by awareness, but by the unconscious, the hidden inner world that quietly shapes our fears, longings, reactions, and habits. Deep beneath the surface, unhealed wounds, childhood imprints, cultural conditioning, and even ancestral trauma move through us like unseen currents. We think we are steering the ship, but we are often just drifting, following a map we never drew. Jung famously said, "Until you make the unconscious conscious, it will direct your life and you will call it fate." This is more than a psychological warning. It's a spiritual wake-up call. Every pattern that repeats in your life, every emotional loop you can't escape, every fear that keeps you small, they're not random. They are echoes of something deeper, something unexamined. And the path to freedom begins not by trying to change the world outside, but by turning inward and seeing what lives in the dark corners of your being. Think of the person who appears put together on the outside, successful, respected, always in motion, but inside, they feel disconnected. No matter how much they achieve, there's a gnawing emptiness. They leap from relationship to relationship, job to job, thinking fulfillment lies in the next thing. But they are not missing opportunities. They are missing themselves. Beneath their drive is a frightened inner child still trying to be enough, still carrying the burden of old pain. And unless that child is heard, nothing will ever feel like home. Jung taught that true freedom requires shadow work and the courage to face the parts of ourselves we've hidden, denied, or disowned. The shadow isn't evil. It's simply the parts of you that were rejected by your family, society, or even your own younger self in an effort to survive. It's the anger you never expressed, the shame you buried, the sadness you pretended didn't matter. And yet, these are the very pieces that hold the keys to your wholeness. You can't heal what you refuse to feel, and what remains hidden will continue to control you. Freedom doesn't come from success, control, or pretending to be healed. It comes from radical honesty. It comes from realizing that your need to be perfect may be rooted in a fear of not being loved, that your constant overthinking may be a defense against past chaos, that your silence may be a learned response to being unheard. When you begin to hold these truths with compassion instead of judgment, you enter a state of spiritual awakening. You become aware of the inner forces driving your life, and with awareness comes choice. This is what spiritual wisdom calls us to embrace, not the polished self, but the honest self. To live freely is not to escape pain. It is to integrate it. It is to meet every part of you with gentleness and truth. Only then can you stop performing and start being. Only then are you no longer a puppet of your past, but a participant in your becoming. And only then does life shift from something that happens to you to something that flows through you with purpose, power, and peace. Have you ever explored the parts of yourself that operate in silence? If so, share what you've discovered in the comments to inspire others. If not, comment, "I'm ready to meet my true self," and begin the journey within. 3. The collective unconscious and archetypes. You are deeply connected to something ancient and vast. The collective unconscious, a hidden reservoir of wisdom and energy shared by all of humanity. This realm is not built from your personal memories, but from timeless symbols and emotional patterns that have existed long before you were born. Carl Jung called these patterns archetypes universal characters, like the hero, the shadow, the wise one, and the anima or animus. These are not just figures in mythology or art. They are living energies within your psyche, silently shaping your thoughts, choices, desires, and even the people you're drawn to. The hero pushes you toward challenges, toward courage, toward growth. The shadow hides everything you reject about yourself, your insecurities, your rage, your suppressed truths, and projects them onto others. The wise one shows up when you need deeper guidance, not from outside advice, but from your own inner knowing. The anima or animus represents your inner balance of masculine and feminine energies. These archetypes live in your dreams, your stories, your reactions. You don't choose them. They already exist in you. You've seen this without realizing it. That moment when you trust someone instantly or feel a sudden repulsion. That dream where you're chased by a dark figure. That strange pull you feel toward a life path that terrifies you. These are not random events. They're echoes from the collective unconscious. And if you don't recognize them, they will keep playing out in your life like a script written behind your back. As Jung warned, until you make the unconscious conscious, it will direct your life and you will call it fate. Spiritual awakening begins the moment you realize that your suffering, your patterns, your relationships, and your internal battles are not meaningless. They're symbolic. They are signs from your unconscious mind trying to break through. You are not just living your life. You are living a myth, shaped by the stories encoded in your soul. And if you want to be truly free, you must stop running from these stories and start listening to them. When you become aware of the archetypes, you step into your power. You stop blaming others. You stop being confused by your emotions. You begin to ask, who is speaking within me right now, the shadow or the hero? Am I being guided by fear or by the wise one within? This awareness is the foundation of real transformation. This is spiritual wisdom in action. You were never meant to drift through life unconsciously. You were born to awaken to who you really are beneath the surface. The journey isn't about becoming someone new. It's about remembering the deep, ancient truths already etched into your being. When you begin to see your life symbolically, when you learn to decode the messages of your inner world, the external world stops controlling you. That is when true spiritual awakening begins. Stay connected to the deeper truth within you. Subscribe to our channel and join a community exploring the hidden forces that shape our lives, archetypes, symbols, and the collective unconscious. Together, we awaken ancient wisdom, uncover inner patterns, and step into conscious living. You are part of something greater. Let's discover it together. 4. Jung's work is more relevant than ever. In a time where constant noise drowns out the quiet voice of the soul, Carl Jung's spiritual wisdom cuts through like a compass, pointing us back to ourselves. Today, more than ever, we are surrounded by distractions, scrolling, chasing, consuming, yet none of it truly fills the hollow ache inside. Jung foresaw this modern dilemma long before smartphones and social media. The true crisis of humanity is not material, but spiritual. Beneath all our activity lies a silent dread that if we were to stop, even for a moment, we'd be forced to confront what's really there, an aching disconnect from our inner world. As Jung warned, people will do anything, no matter how absurd, to avoid facing their own soul. And that's exactly what many of us are doing. Numbing, avoiding, pretending. Our anxiety, depression, and confusion aren't root problems. They're symptoms of something deeper, a soul that's been forgotten. Real freedom, Jung teaches, is not found by running from pain or chasing fleeting highs. It begins the moment we turn inward. The journey to wholeness doesn't come through self-denial, but through radical honesty. We must face the shadow, the hidden, rejected, uncomfortable parts of ourselves, and allow them back into the light. This isn't easy. In a society that rewards performance, perfection, and polished images, Jung's path is almost rebellious. But it's the only one that leads to authentic healing. As long as you avoid what's within, you'll be controlled by it. When you courageously confront it, you take back your power. That is the paradox of spiritual awakening. What you fear the most is also where your true freedom waits. I remember the story of a woman who had it all on paper. She had status, success, and the approval of everyone around her, but inside, she was hollow. Eventually, the weight of pretending caught up with her, and she could no longer hide behind accomplishments. Therapy led her to Jung's concept of individuation, the lifelong process of integrating the unconscious and becoming whole. She started to meet the forgotten parts of herself, the frightened little girl, the silenced artist, the woman who wore confidence like armor. It wasn't easy. There were tears, grief, and silence, but there was also rebirth. As she embraced these truths, she discovered a strength that came not from applause, but from inner alignment. She stopped performing and started living. And that's the quiet power of Jung's spiritual wisdom. It doesn't promise a smoother life, but it promises a real one. Jung never handed out spiritual shortcuts. He didn't believe in quick fixes or shallow positivity. What he offered instead was an invitation, a courageous path of awakening through deep self-knowledge. He believed that beneath our roles, our pain, and our defenses, we are souls craving understanding and reunion with our truth. Until we answer that longing, we remain trapped in cycles of repetition, attracting the same wounds in new disguises, never feeling whole. But Jung didn't judge these patterns. He sought to illuminate them. Through dream work, symbolism, archetypes, and inner exploration, he gave us a language to speak with the unconscious and a roadmap back to the soul we abandoned. The spiritual wisdom Jung left us is simple, yet profound. Healing isn't about becoming something new. It's about remembering who you were before the world told you who to be. As you commit to this path, everything begins to change. You realize your pain was a messenger, your fear was a compass, and your soul has been calling you home all along. So today, if this message stirs something in you, if you feel the echo of your own forgotten self rising, then honor it. Declare your commitment to truth. Embrace the journey. Because true freedom begins the moment you stop running and start listening. Comment below, "I choose soul over noise," to affirm your path and inspire others to reconnect with what truly matters. 5. Individuation, the path to wholeness. Real transformation begins when you stop chasing who the world tells you to be and start uncovering who you truly are. Carl Jung called this process individuation, a profound journey of becoming whole by integrating the unconscious parts of yourself, especially the shadow. It's not about self-improvement or fixing flaws. It's about remembering and reuniting with the parts of your soul that were buried beneath years of conditioning, fear, and compromise. To individuate is to face the uncomfortable truths you've been avoiding, to let go of the mask you've worn for approval, and to step into the fullness of your authentic self. This is not a path of ease. It requires radical honesty and deep courage. You will meet aspects of yourself that you once rejected: your anger, your envy, your vulnerability, your unmet needs. You'll come face to face with the pain of pretending, with the cost of performing roles just to feel safe or accepted. But what's on the other side is wholeness, the kind of peace that doesn't depend on circumstances, applause, or validation. Jung warned, "Until you make the unconscious conscious, it will direct your life, and you will call it fate." The parts of you you refuse to face are the same ones sabotaging your peace, your relationships, and your freedom. Think of the woman who appears to have it all: career, wealth, admiration, yet feels numb inside. She follows the rules, meets expectations, plays her part. But at night, she's haunted by a deep restlessness, a quiet ache that something essential is missing. That ache is her soul asking her to return. Individuation is the call to answer that ache, to stop performing and start living. It is not a rebellion, it's a reunion with your original essence. The spiritual wisdom at the heart of individuation teaches that healing isn't always light and serenity. Sometimes it's rage, grief, confusion, and letting go of illusions that once gave you a false sense of control. You must break down before you break through. You must dismantle what is false so that what is real can emerge. Wholeness is not perfection. It's integration, the unification of your light and dark, strength and softness, clarity and contradiction. The self isn't found, it's remembered. It's been waiting under the surface, beneath layers of social roles, family programming, trauma, and fear. To walk this path is to reclaim what was lost. Every dream abandoned for practicality, every truth silenced for acceptance, every emotion swallowed to keep the peace. Carl Jung's work was never about theories locked in books. It was a mirror held up to the soul, daring us to look. And when we do, we begin to see that real freedom isn't the absence of responsibility or discomfort. It's the release of everything that is not truly you. This is how you awaken. This is how you come home to yourself. If this message resonates with your soul, repeat after me. I am becoming whole. I embrace every part of me, light and shadow. Let this be your declaration. And if this speaks to you, like, subscribe, and share this with someone on their journey to wholeness. 6. Dreams are messages from the soul. Carl Jung believed that dreams are not just nighttime hallucinations. They are sacred messages from the soul, written in symbols. Each dream, no matter how strange or fleeting, carries deep spiritual wisdom. A snake, a mirror, a tunnel. These are not meaningless images. They are the unconscious mind's way of guiding you, of telling you something your waking self refuses to see. The soul doesn't shout. It whispers through images while you sleep, hoping you'll pay attention. When you see a tunnel in your dream, it may not be fear chasing you, but transformation calling. The darkness could mean you're walking through a season of the unknown, preparing for something new. A mirror may be asking you to face yourself, to see clearly the truths you've hidden from your own eyes. A snake, rather than signaling danger, often represents deep change, healing, and even rebirth. Jung saw these symbols as a living language, crafted by the unconscious to bring healing, insight, and wholeness. Ignoring them means ignoring the soul's attempt to guide you back to your true path. In daily life, it's easy to dismiss dreams. You wake up, shake off the images, and jump into routine. But each time you ignore these messages, you're pushing your soul's wisdom further into the shadows. And what lives in the shadows doesn't disappear. It directs your life without your knowledge. That's why Jung warned, until you make the unconscious conscious, it will direct your life and you will call it fate. The patterns that trap you, the emotional reactions you don't understand, the repeated mistakes they all stem from ignored inner truths. Your dreams are trying to free you from this. We spend so much time looking for answers outside of ourselves. We chase clarity in books, advice, noise. But the answers were always within, carried by symbols, delivered in silence. Your dreams are your soul's letters, personal, mysterious, and meant only for you. And yet most people never open them. They call them nonsense, randomness, or worse, ignore them completely. In doing so, they abandon their deepest compass. Dreams are not just psychological phenomena. They are spiritual experiences. Each night is a journey inward, a chance to reconnect with what matters most. To listen is to grow. To understand is to heal. And to act on what you've seen is to walk the path of transformation. When you begin to truly pay attention to your dreams, you stop living on autopilot. You stop being driven by unconscious fears. You start choosing your path with clarity and intention. The soul finally feels heard. This is spiritual wisdom in its purest form when your inner world becomes your teacher. The freedom you seek in the outer world begins the moment you decide to listen to what your dreams have been telling you all along. Comment below. I honor the wisdom of my dreams, if you're ready to listen to the messages your soul has been trying to send you. And don't forget to like, subscribe, and turn on notifications for more insights that awaken your inner truth. 7. Archetypes can possess or empower you. When archetypes remain unconscious, they don't simply influence your behavior. They quietly take control of it. The hero, for example, might seem admirable on the surface. It pushes you to help, to protect, to be strong for others. But when this archetype operates without your awareness, it can become a trap. You find yourself constantly saving others while neglecting your own well-being, burning yourself out for praise you may never receive. The strength that drives you begins to hollow you out from within. You're no longer acting from choice, but from compulsion. That's not empowerment. That's possession. The same is true for the wounded child. It quietly rules your emotional world, making you chase validation, approval, and affection, often from the very people who hurt you. It tells you that love must be earned, that your voice only matters if someone else listens. And without realizing it, you live in reaction, not intention. You let this archetype shape your relationships, your self-image, even your purpose. You feel small, stuck, and dependent, all while thinking you're just being sensitive or loyal. Carl Jung said, "Until you make the unconscious conscious, it will direct your life and you will call it fate." These words are not just psychological insight. They are a direct call to spiritual awakening. Because in truth, what you call personality is often just a set of inherited patterns. Archetypes are ancient energies, not personal flaws. But when they remain hidden, they blind you to your own freedom. The moment you see them clearly, everything changes. What once controlled you begins to inform you. What once drained you becomes your power source. The hero becomes a conscious mission, not a compulsive rescue. The wounded child becomes emotional depth, not emotional weakness. The victim becomes a survivor. Even the inner critic, the voice that once shamed you, can become your precision tool for self-refinement, no longer an enemy, but an ally. This is not a one-time insight. It is a path of ongoing inner work, and it marks the beginning of spiritual maturity. To awaken spiritually is to see through the stories you've lived unconsciously and choose new ones rooted in awareness, not fear. The patterns don't disappear. They evolve. You don't get rid of your archetypes. You learn to work with them. You embody them with clarity and balance. You stop reacting and start responding. And in this response, you reclaim your power not just to survive, but to live with purpose, with presence, with peace. Spiritual wisdom isn't about becoming someone else. It's about returning to who you were before the world told you who to be. And to do that, you must shine a light into the deepest corners of your inner world, not to destroy what's there, but to understand it, transform it, and ultimately transcend it. That is the real meaning of spiritual awakening. If this message helped you see your inner patterns more clearly, don't forget to subscribe for more spiritual wisdom on transforming unconscious archetypes into your greatest source of power. Thank you for joining us today on Spiritual Wisdom. As you reflect on Carl Jung's insight that true freedom begins with understanding your inner self, remember, the path to liberation isn't found by running from what's within, but by courageously turning toward it. Your shadows, your patterns, your unconscious drives, they all hold the key to your awakening. If this message resonated with you, don't forget to like this video, share it with someone who needs it, and subscribe to our channel. Make sure to turn on the notification bell so you won't miss any of our upcoming videos filled with deep truths and spiritual insight. Until next time, stay aware, stay open, and keep walking your path with wisdom.